welcome back to Cash Flow Confidence. I'm Shelby Ashley, and I help business owners feel more confident about their cash flow. So continuing on with our series and going line by line, starting with revenue and ending with cash flow. Last week, we went over revenue, and this week, I'm going to talk about cost of goods sold. And so before you're thinking, I really don't care about this, like I'm not trying to become an accountant, just bear with me because this is the true key to your gross margin, and it's very important. And if you ignore it, then you're going to get a very, very misleading version of how well your business is doing. So we're going to talk about what cost of goods sold actually is, why it matters, even if you don't sell a physical product. Like you don't have to sell actual things in order to have cost of goods sold. And then we're going to talk about how to actually use this number in order to increase the profitability and the cash flow in your business. So what is cost of goods sold? It is whatever it costs you to deliver the thing that you are selling. So it's not what it costs you to keep the lights on, or not what it costs your insurance or something like that. It's just the things that fulfill whatever it is that you're selling. So obviously, if you do have physical inventory, like you're a manufacturer or you own a retail store, your cost of goods sold is pretty cut and dry because it's obviously just that thing that you're selling. It's that part or it's that outfit or whatever. That's your cost of goods sold. But let's say you're a service provider, then your cost of goods sold might include a subcontractor that does some work for you, or a designer that did some work, any software that you use just for that client, anything that you need to fulfill a sale. And so if you're kind of unsure, then you can run the test. That is, if I didn't have this sale, would I have this cost? If the answer is no, then that's a cost of goods sold because you wouldn't have that cost if you weren't selling the thing. One thing to look out for is, a second ago I mentioned it's subcontractors or it's literal materials. A lot of traps that I see business owners fall into is they are lumping their direct labor with their admin labor all in one line item and just calling it payroll. It's very important in order to not be misled that any direct labor you have, so like you've got employees that work specifically on a job. So if that's engineers, fabricators, welders, whatever it is, if they're working specifically on a job for an end customer, that is direct labor. And that has to be considered in your cost of goods sold in order to get a better sense of what your true profitability is on each of your jobs. If you don't classify all of your costs accordingly, then what's going to happen is you're going to think, oh, this offer is really profitable, when in reality it's actually barely breaking even. Or you're going to think, well, I just need to bring more clients in, when actually each of those new clients is increasing your costs and eating away at your margin. Or you might think, oh, I can afford to just discount this, when you're already barely covering what it takes to deliver it. So it's very important you lump in the costs that are actually tied to that sale so that you know what you're keeping off of that sale and you can make decisions accordingly. Okay, so you've gotten all of your costs classified the right way. Now you can see what you're actually keeping off each of your jobs. What do you need to do with this information now? So in order to use this to make better decisions and bring in more profitability to your business, I want you to pull a list of all of your projects, all of your offers over the past 12 or so months. And then I want you to see, what did you bring in, just top line revenue for each one? And then what did you pay out to deliver that work? So again, we're talking about direct labor. We're talking about any tools, any materials, any software that's specific for that job. And, just estimate it, okay? I mean, be as specific as you can, but, it doesn't need to get down to dollars and cents. Just a good estimation that you can make decisions off of. And then what you're going to do is for each of those offers, you're going to take your top line revenue and subtract out those costs. That is your gross profit for every single one of those offers. So now you can see which of your offers are more profitable and which are not. I have several clients where they sell offers that top line revenue wise, they're very small compared to their other offers. They don't bring in a whole lot. And then they've also got offers where top line revenue is a whole lot of money, but they don't keep anything off of those offers. And so when we're going through and planning out, okay, which of these is going to get more attention as far as marketing and planning this year, it's going to be those ones that are maybe smaller revenue-wise, but they're keeping more of, because you can ramp up the volume you're doing on those because you're keeping more off of those offers. If you're selling something for, let's say, $1,000, and your cost associated with it is like $100. So you've got a really good margin on it. You keep like $900 from that offer. Now let's say you got an offer for $15,000 and your costs are $14,000. So you're only keeping $1,000 off of that offer. Yes, it might bring in more revenue, but you're not keeping any of it. So what's the point? So if you've only got so much capacity that you can only sell, so much of one thing, you're going to want to sell the thing that you're keeping the most of, right? So now once you know your profit margin off of each of these offers, now you can see, okay, where do I need to raise my price in order to match the value and the effort that this takes? Where do I need to tighten up my delivery or make things more lean in order to reduce the costs on some of these? How can I shift my offer structure to make it more scalable? Where can I maybe cap my volume, like I was just saying a second ago, so that the more clients that come in for this offer isn't just more money out the door? And that's how you strategize as a CEO, using numbers to make your decisions instead of just, oh, I sold this one thing for $15,000. That's a lot of money. Let's sell more of that. No, let's sell more of what you are actually keeping. So if you've been looking at your revenue as a whole and wondering why it is not translating to more profit, or more importantly, if you have been selling a lot more this year than you did in previous years and your profitability is going down, look here first and make sure that what you're selling is actually profitable. And if you're in a field where maybe you're like a franchise owner, you can see what others in your industry are doing as far as cost of goods sold goes. So some of my franchise owner clients, their franchisee, it gives them, metrics that they should kind of look out for. So that way they know, okay, if my franchisor is telling me I should expect, a 35% cost of goods sold and mine is 45%, something's not right there. That kind of tips you off. But, if it's something that you just created from scratch, this is completely your offer, look at previous periods and see, okay, where was I the most profitable as far as these offers are concerned? And then dig into why that was. What were you selling more of? What did your costs look like? And kind of make that your North Star as far as your cost of goods sold and your gross margin. And so next week, we're going to go into more of what constitutes your overhead costs. So these costs that are, if you didn't make a single other sale, you would still have these costs. We're going to talk more about that next week. All right, see you guys.